Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another session of Know Your City, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Waltham. I am delighted this evening to have David Salstein with me. David, what's your role?
I'm board president of the WalthamPhilharmonic Orchestra and have been for about 8 years, I believe. But I've been on
Okay,
board for about twice that time.
thank you. I knew you were involved with the Philharmonic. I just wasn't quite sure of your role, and perhaps I should have asked you before, but it is a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be
And
here.
And I'm hoping that those who watch the video will appreciate the fact that Waltham indeed does have a Philharmonic orchestra. So tell me about the Philharmonic. Can you give me some history about it?
Well, yes, we were founded in 1985. So next year will be our 40th anniversary. And we are an orchestra that grew out of the needs of local musicians who would want to play together. And we got bigger and stronger, as I understand, because that happened before I was involved. And we have professional conductor. We have some professional leadership in our string sections, and otherwise, the members are community people. Many of them are very good musicians, though they're not professional uh, um, performers, but they have strong backgrounds in music, many of them, and it's a wonderful place to play.
Well, how many people make up the orchestra?
Approximately 50. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a big group. I mean, as in all orchestras, we have different sections. We have the string sections, which are the violins, violas, cellos, and basses, and there are several in each of those sections. And we have woodwinds uh, and the brass, and we have percussionists, and we have uh, piano keyboard, and I'm the piano keyboard person uh, as well. So I joined the orchestra um, to play and got involved in the management of it and joined the board and started helping with different things on the board. And I have a lot of responsibilities on the running this.
Obviously,
It has to do
obviously.
uh, with from fundraising to making arrangements to um, answering questions from uh, would musicians who contact us and say, we'd like to join the orchestra. Do you have room for me? Things like that.
And that was my next question. If
Okay.
if I Actually, my freshman year in college, I roomed with a bassoonist.
Oh, so
Okay. So if I were a
her
bassoonist,
over. Yes.
how would I become a member of the Philharmonic?
Okay.
What's the
Okay.
process?
Well, first of all, as I said, the strings are large sections. The woodwinds are somewhat limited. There are two bassoons in an orchestra typically.
Wow, that's a lot.
Uh-huh. There's the
For
first. I mean, most pieces, symphonies are written with first bassoon and second bassoon. Occasionally, there's a deeper bassoon called contrabassoon. Um, so, if you have, what I would do if we had an opening, I'd say come to one of the rehearsals and start playing. I would hear I would hear about your background, and I would share that with our music director. Um, and I'd say come in and see how it's working out. And usually pretty quickly, people know whether they're going to fit in or not. Either the music, if
Mhm.
they can play the music, some of it's fairly challenging, and in other cases, people come in having had a lot of musical background when they were younger, but they might have kind of lapsed and not played for a while. And as an adult, they say, I want to get back into music, to my instrument. So they might start. And then within a few months, they're doing really great. And
Well, how often do you have a performance?
Okay, we have four performances a year, four concerts. One in the fall around the end, late October or early November. We have one in early December, which we call the Pops, uh, related to the holiday Pops, but other Pops as well. Then we have one in March, and that's coming up in
Week.
a week and a half. Yes, on March 17th, and we have one at the end of May. Now we have rehearsals, weekly rehearsals. Uh, every Monday night, we have a rehearsal, and we meet in Waltham Government Center. Um,
Ah,
it's the auditorium there. It's a beautiful room, and the acoustics are great. We love rehearsing there.
and is that where the performances
Well,
occur?
now it is. Prior to the pandemic, we were at one of the middle schools, at Kennedy Middle School,
Mhm.
and that was fine too. Although in a sense the acoustics are not as good there, and the hall is much too big uh, for our audience.
Mhm.
Stage was a little too small, and the hall was too big, so it wasn't
Not much.
working. When the pandemic came, and we had a year, we had to take a basic one season off. But when we reassembled for the following season, um, the schools were not letting any outsiders in, and we made the decision to just do the concert where we do our rehearsals, and it actually worked out very nicely.
I was going to say that sounds quite fortuitous.
Uh,
Now, who chooses the program? How is that done?
okay, so we have a music director, our conductor. His name is Michael Korn. He's an excellent musician. Originally, he's a violinist himself. He he became a conductor, and is very good at that. And um, he basically comes up with a program each year. So pretty soon we'll hear from him what his suggestions are for next season. Next season being September through May of
Mhm.
of next year, and he'll present it to the board, and we'll discuss it. And in many times we'll have soloists from outside the orchestra, um, and some very excellent soloists. Either we've had members of the Boston Symphony and other symphonies as our soloists. We've had so they might play a concerto with the orchestra,
Mhm.
and uh, Michael Korn will be in touch with them and say what kind of schedule can we have? Can you play it in the spring concert? Can you play it in the fall concert? Uh, so often we'll have a concerto with a with
With a guest performer.
a guest performer, but other also we have once a year we have a competition for students. These are very, very high level um, music students, high school level. Well, up through high school. We've had middle school and high school, but we'll have this competition in early fall, and there'll be some excellent auditions, and we have the tough job of choosing which one of the students will get to play with the orchestra as a soloist. And
That
it,
sounds so exciting.
it's very good. Yes, it's very good. So
That-
yes, we've had different pieces that they play, different concertos. We've had the Tchaikovsky concerto, Sibelius concerto, and others.
Okay. You mentioned you are board president. Tell me
Yes.
about the board. How many people are on the board? About,
We have about, well, it fluctuates. We have usually between 10 and 12 on the board.
and
So
what is their function?
to make policy for the orchestra, to help in some of the activities, um, they might help in some of the fundraising, um, discussing the programs, and several of the board members are members of the orchestra,
Mhm.
and others are are community people. So we have people with other functions and attributes. So we have people who are in public relations. We have people who are. We have a person who's a banker. So different skills that they might bring to the board.
And how do you choose new board members?
Ah, well, for the orchestra, I've asked for volunteers from the orchestra, um, and in some cases we've had people from outside. We've had contacts uh, who want to join the board ask us, "Oh, we're interested in becoming a member of your board." Some of the board members might meet them in some context. For
Mhm.
example, person who was the banker, one of us was in the bank and was talking to that person, and I said, "Oh, I'm interested in the board." And people in that kind of capacity want to help the community as a board
Mhm.
member often.
Now, the Philharmonic is a nonprofit, am I correct?
Yes, yes. So we before my time, but we took out paperwork to register us as a 501(c)(3) organization. That's a
Mhm.
nonprofit registered
And
with
charitable,
the
yeah.
IRS. So donations are tax deductible to this, that kind of organization. That's a valuable resource.
And
Um,
how do you raise the money to keep yourself going? Where do you get your funds from?
Several sources. Well, first there's tickets to the concert, um, although we although it's a modest charge, so that people in the community can afford it. That provides some of the money, but as they say, tickets to art, artistic events barely cover a small portion of the budget. So we've written some grants. The Waltham Cultural Council gives us a
Mhm.
grant. Um, there were several other foundations in Waltham, the Waltham Community Foundation, Waltham Tourism. A couple of the banks give us a grant, um, and then we have a fundraising at least once a year where I'll send out a letter both in the mail and online, um, telling them how um, that we really need the funds to keep this activity going in the community, and how good it is for the community. And we get some very nice donations at times. And the last thing is that we expect the members of the orchestra to make donations also. It's not a strict requirement, but they know they're getting a very nice experience with us. They will have if they're community people, they have other jobs and they're not professional musicians themselves. Um, so they will make contributions also.
That's nice.
And we try to balance our budget. Uh, Sometimes it's difficult, so we have our hands out all the time.
Yeah. I have a question. Of course, that's my role tonight, asking questions, but do you ever record your performances?
Um, we haven't a couple of times. We've had kind of some technical difficulties
A
doing
challenge,
that, and in some cases, um, some of the pieces are under copyright, and that's another part of the expense.
of
Um,
course.
we have to we have to rent music in many cases, and in some cases if they're recent compositions, they're under a copyright, and we have to pay for the rights just to perform it,
Of
and
course.
and the expense of then recording it and making that public, that's even more expensive.
Okay.
So with a limited budget, you could see that we might not really be able to do that. Yes, if we play Beethoven, we don't have that expense, but if some of the of the 20th century and on, we do.
Yeah. Question. If you could change anything about the orchestra, what would you change?
Ah. What would I change? Um, I would, well, the orchestra itself I wouldn't change, so that um, our our surroundings, let's say, the room is very nice. I wish we had a bigger. I wish this room that we are in, which is lovely, were larger. Our performance, um, we could have uh, a few more. Some of the instruments are um, more difficult to get people to join. We could have a larger violin section, for example. Um, that's a tough instrument to really want to play and sound very good. So we encourage that. Like there were two violin sections in an orchestra, a first violin and a second violin, and kind of have different. They harmonize with each other, but have different functions. So we need many of them. Um, I'd have fundraising go a little more smoothly.
Mhm. Okay. What have I forgotten to ask you?
You've forgotten to ask me what we're going to do next.
I'm sorry.
what our what our next performance is.
Well, yeah, that's true. No, the reason as many people who watch these videos know, I send some of the questions that I'm interested in. And I always feel as if I'm missing something. And that's why I asked that question. What else would you like to tell me about the Philharmonic? Or did we cover everything?
Um, well, I just want to say that it's a very lovely experience to be there. I mean, it's really a community of musicians, and we all enjoy being with each other. Um, it's it's a wonderful way to spend our rehearsal time, our music time, and then to give back to the community with these performances.
What
Um,
what brings you the most joy about being part of the Philharmonic?
when I see people, both the players and the audience, really enjoying the music and the day, I just look at them and say, "Oh, that this is really wonderful," and it's kind of worth all my hard work when I see everybody, with their enjoyable smiles on their faces, really tuned into the.
So you have an upcoming concert.
Yes, we do. So, and that's on March 17th. At,
St. Patty's Day. You're all wearing green.
we're all wearing green, but sadly, there's no Irish music on the on the program. However, there's wonderful music. There's a symphony by a woman named Ruth Gibbs, who was an English composer from the mid 20th century, and we have two pieces by Armenian composers, Khachatorian and Bagdasarian, and we have a violin soloist playing in one of them. Um, so the one thing I did want to say about our music director and the programming is he is very, um, should I say, adventurous in his programming, and he's very interested in getting hold of music that hasn't been played before by composers who have been underappreciated or underperformed. This Ruth Gibbs was a very famous composer in England in her day, um, but after she passed the scene, she wasn't played anymore. And Michael Korn discovered this symphony and said, "This is something that we need to get the Philharmonic playing." And so he actually has won a award in the American Prize in Programming uh, because of his interesting programming. We've had in the past we've had programs that were like all Latin American music. We've had programs that were Asian music, all kinds of interesting. In addition to the kind of standard things that you expect from an orchestra of the
Mhm.
the 19th century composers like Brahms and
Beethoven.
Dvorak, and Beethoven, and et cetera, et cetera. But he's reached into more modern repertoire as well, and
Now,
enjoyed
the program's on the 17th of March at
the
Government Center.
government center,
And
and
what is the admission fee?
$20.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
$20 is the admission. We buy tickets online to go to our website, which is www.wphil.org, wphil.org, or you just look up Waltham Philharmonic and you'll get it. And there's a way to buy a ticket right there. And the other thing is that that's for adults. Children are free.
And the cutoff age for children?
18, I guess. Well,
Okay.
up to 18, 18 and above.
Okay, is there anything that I forgot to ask you?
I'm not sure that I could think of anything. Maybe
Okay,
if our audience has some questions.
I'm not seeing anything right now. Let me just. I see nothing right now, but I'll tell you what, whoops.
Aaron has a question in
I
there.
see that. What do you think is the most challenging piece that the orchestra has played since you've been with it?
Uh-oh. Well, there've been several challenging pieces. We had a piece years ago called The Iron Foundry. It was a Russian piece from the early 20th century, and it was highly percussive and kept on going bang, 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 and then other themes came out with it. It was really very, very interesting, and I'm not sure it was beautiful, but it was very, very interesting.
Interesting. One of my favorite adjectives. Let's see, we have another question. We covered it before, but it's worth repeating. How is the music selected?
Okay. Well, we have our music director. His name is Michael Korn. He he just he comes up with a draft program um, in the late winter, let's say, and for the following whole season. So for all 4 concerts. So it'll be the 24-25 season. We'll hear from him in a few weeks about this. And he'll present it to the board, and the board will discuss it and decide what is to be played. I mean, it's probably what he proposes, but also he will work with some soloists who will propose a piece that they can play. So we had, in fact, we had last year, we had Emmanuel Feldman, who was he's a cellist, and he wrote his own cello concerto. And we know him otherwise, but so we played his concerto. He was the soloist, and that was last year. That was very nice.
Yes. And one more question. Does the orchestra own any of the music that it plays? Do you have a collection?
Oh, okay. Yes, we do. And we have a pretty big collection. In fact, we have an office at Waltham High School. And in that office, we have several bookcases filled with our music. Of course, the music is the score for the conductor plus all the parts. So each piece is a big folder, and we have a music librarian who takes care of all of this. His name is Arthur Payne, and he has he's helped by Karen Waltz, and it's a big job preparing, even if we have it, putting it into folders for each of the musicians, and in many cases uh, he will have to order the music from music publishing house, wait for it to come, and probably it might come in the last minute. So there's a lot of work putting it all together, um,
Mhm.
and to have it ready um, for the orchestra in the first case. Um, so interesting. The Ruth Gibbs piece. Um, we we contacted her. It was actually a family. We found out that it was from a family member who was in control of all of our music, and she sent it to us all on the internet, all as PDFs, uh,
Mhm.
to have it printed out and distributed and so forth. So there's been a lot of ways. That was a whole saga unto itself that, that Karen helped with very much.
Well, it's interesting because speaking as a person who's never played in an orchestra, who's only sat and listened, the back of the show is so complex, and most people don't appreciate what it takes to perform even one piece with 40 musicians
That's true. That's
and the
very
legalities around everything.
yes, and there's more to. I mean, there's more to it with what I do on the board because there's a lot of as a nonprofit, there are a lot of filings to do. So
Mhm.
um, things like it's not exactly tax, but it's related to I have to file
Yeah.
with the IRS, our budgets, and everything else, and with the state, and
Somehow or another, you have to pay for the
certifications. It's
paycheck.
a lot more work than I expected.
And then we'll,
No,
yeah. I have another question here. Do you have any favorite concerts or pieces that you've played over the years? If somebody said to you, David, I want a concert of all of your favorites, what would be there?
oh boy. Okay, my I have some favorite composers. Schumann is one of my favorite composers. We have played one of his pieces, and Brahms. Um, we've played Brahms wrote four symphonies. We've actually played three of them. We're waiting to play the fourth. Um, so I'm kind of a classical, late romantic guy from that point of view.
And how many people attend the concerts on average?
Well, lately we've gotten about 120 people in the audience, um, and this, we're kind of bursting at the seams at Government Center with that many people. Well, we could fit some more chairs in, um, so we don't know what's going to happen if we grow that much more. And maybe we'll go back to the school again.
Okay. Another question. God bless our audience here. Do you have a regular newsletter you send out by email or snail mail? How do people stay up to date with what's happening with the orchestra?
But we do have a website, and the website has the information both for the public and for the musicians, like when the rehearsals are and what the concerts are. But there are emails that go out to our mailing list. Um, we have Facebook notices on this social media and other things. We put notices in some of the online calendars, something called the Boston Music Intelligencer, that has
Mhm.
a very complete list of programs in the whole Boston area. We put it there, some other places like that.
Mhm.
Um, we used to put signs around town, but that became a little more difficult.
And
This is
how do I get on your mailing list?
just go to our website and um,
There's a form there to fill out?
yes, that you're interested, or you could send an email. There's an email there also.
Okay.
So, or you could tell me right now, and I'll
I won't ask you to remember it. It's later in the evening, and I don't know about you, but my brain goes to sleep about
oh,
this time.
yeah. Well, I do have your email because we were in
Feel
contact.
free to put me on your mailing list then.
Well,
Okay. All right. I think that's about it. David, it has just been such a delight to have you with me
Thank
tonight.
you. It's been really fun talking to you, Annette, and
Okay.
to our other guests.
Okay. And then I look forward to the concert on the 18th. Look for me there. I'll wear a red jacket.
17th. Oop, you'll be late.
I'm going to put on my calendar St. Patty's Day and I'll find something green to wear.
Okay, sounds great. Nice
Thank you
talking.
so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.